Have you ever had one of those nights or days where you just think, God, I love photography? Well, tonight was one of those nights for me. Let me explain. Don't mind me, I'm going to try off a bit of my gear as I'm kind of talking through my thoughts of what happened tonight. That is a wet cattail. I definitely don't baby my gear, that's for sure. But it is meant to be used. So as I'm kind of drying off my gear here, I'm gonna kind of talk through, I think, just a few of my thoughts of this video, aptly titled Why I Love Photography. Excuse the cough and the stuffy nose, by the way. But I had every intent tonight to just kind of, it was one of those days where it was like midweek, I just had to force myself to get out and shoot. I wasn't really feeling it. I was talking my way out of it. My wife can attest to that. After dinner with the boys, I was just kind of like, I'm just not feeling it. I knew it was going to be rainy. Pro-Mist filter on a rainy night, oh, so good. But I knew it was going to be rainy, which is one of the settings that I actually wanted to shoot in. Just do some, just some night photography in. So part of me was like, I'm tired, it's midweek, I got an early morning tomorrow, and what am I gonna shoot, right? Is always typically the question. And part of the impetus for like going out and shooting for me is, okay, am I gonna get stock video? Am I going to take photos? Am I going to shoot a YouTube video? If I do shoot a YouTube video, what's the story gonna be? All of that kind of worry and stress is kind of running through your head. So I finally made the decision to just kind of commit and drive out to one of the locations, and I did. And one of the things that I did once I kind of arrived was I just set a timer. And this is something that just kind of a best practice that I think is a really good technique, is whenever you have those times, those days where you need to go out and work the muscle, you need to go out and work out, right? Work out, take photos. You need to get your daily reps in, but you're just not feeling it, then just like set a timer. Set a timer on your watch, set a timer on your phone, and commit to 60 minutes, 90 minutes of just being out on location and just shooting whatever kind of comes to mind, whatever is interesting. But the point is, your commitment is to the clock and not to a great photo, which may or may not appear. Most of the time it doesn't. That way it kind of relieves a bit of stress off of you, and it more just becomes a commitment of, hey, I'm out here for 60 minutes, I'm out here for 90 minutes, I might as well just make the most of it and go for a walk. I mean, if anything, it's a 60-minute walk. So that's kind of what the night started out as for me. But the night kind of took a turn and brought quite a unique surprise. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight, especially when like something happens out in the field and you just like, it sparks this kind of flood of ideas that you fear if you sleep on, you're going to forget. Because I had no intention of shooting a YouTube video tonight. But here we are. Here we are. Got my coffee. One piece, dry. Whew. It's a wet tail. I hope my microphone is fine. So I was out shooting and, you know, the clock was running and I just happened to stumble upon a tattoo parlor, and I was I was waiting outside of the tattoo parlor as kind of a stage. I've been trying to work on my patience in composition. Instead of kind of chasing around interesting subjects, find a specific frame that you really enjoy and wait for a subject to pass through. Wait for something interesting to happen in that frame. That's not something I do very often. And so tonight, one of my goals was in the rain, I was like, I want to get some shots in an interesting frame with a subject with an umbrella. Super easy, right? Super easy composition. It should happen fairly often with how much it was raining tonight. Should be a lot of subjects with umbrellas. Leica Q2, baby. This is the Reporter edition. I'm gonna make a video about this soon. Slick green. It's such a cool camera. It's really funny though, because the reason why I went for the Reporter edition instead of just the standard Q2 is because it's not that I don't want to rep the brand. It's because of the big old red Leica dot that just screams steal me, right, on their cameras. And so I wanted to get the Reporter, which is a lot more sleek, kind of like under the radar, a lot more ambiguous because there's no branding on this camera, which is something I really love. So it doesn't scream, hey, I'm an expensive camera, please steal me. But it's funny because when I was taking pictures right outside of this tattoo parlor, one of the owners, one of the tattoo artists, he immediately called me out and said, hey, is that a Leica? So I chuckled because my attempts to blend in with the Reporter seemed to fail miserably. All right. And sorry if this is distracting while I'm drying all of my gear. So I got a couple shots of subjects within an interesting frame right outside the tattoo parlor. And I guess some of the owners noticed. Not some of the owners, I think it was a couple of the tattoo artists as well as someone who was getting a tattoo. And they kind of, you know, they came outside the parlor and waved me down to take a picture, and I did. I snapped some pictures of them. And they're like, hey, are you gonna stick around? Would you wanna come in and take some shots of, you know, this guy getting a tattoo? And I'm like, sure, why not? So, you know, I got invited into the back of the tattoo parlor and started taking some shots, and everybody was just super nice. I don't know, it just kind of like, what began as a night of just kind of uncertainty and lack of inspiration quickly turned into like, wow, I'm really glad I decided to go out and shoot tonight. So that kind of leads me to the point of why I love photography. And this is exactly what kind of came rushing to my mind as I was taking some shots in the back of a tattoo parlor with some people that I had literally met 5 minutes ago. This hobby or medium of photography or videography, you know, it's weird because it almost sets your life on a different like trajectory. It's not like an alternate timeline, but it sets your life on like a different trajectory of what it would normally be on, right? It kind of diverges you out of your normal mode of operations or your normal comfort zone and breaks you out of that. I mean, you know, I don't shy away from tattoo parlors. I've been wanting to get more tattoos here lately, but I did not expect to find myself in the back of one this evening, you know, shaking hands with some folks I had never met before. If it weren't for photography, I wouldn't have even gone out tonight. I would have stayed home. I would have, you know, done something else, but I definitely would not have found interest or pleasure in walking outside in the rain and the wind for an hour and a half. And that's kind of what I mean. It gives you purpose and intent for intentionally just like veering outside of your normal comfort zone, and almost it just opens up so many options and doors for you to experience life in a different way, if that makes sense. So that's the first reason why I really, really love photography, and I was really reminded of that tonight. The second kind of goes along with that. It takes you places, and it brings you to people that you wouldn't normally meet. You know, prime example of that is I do a lot of stock video, and one of the platforms that I contribute on is like a global community of other creators that like I wouldn't cross paths with in, you know, my normal trajectory of life, you know, family man, corporate America. But it's like I've got friends in like Eastern Europe and Italy and Portland, and a curator in, you know, Iceland. It's those sort of things that make you think, if it weren't for this hobby, I wouldn't have these relationships. I wouldn't know these people. And that's just, it's so intriguing to me to think about. I showed up, I had a camera, and all of a sudden it sparked interest. They're like, hey, can you take our picture? Hey, he's about to get a tattoo. Come on back and take some pictures of us. And it's like, wow, that's crazy. And because of that, because it kind of takes you out of your comfort zone, it diverges you from your normal mode of operations of life. It takes you to places you've never thought about going. It brings you to people you've never thought about meeting. That in and of itself provides opportunity. So the third reason is it gives you opportunity. It gives you opportunity to meet new people, experience new things, grow your business. All of that kind of came rushing in as I was leaving the tattoo parlor, and just thinking about like, wow, that was really cool. This is why it's not only important to go out and get those daily reps in. It's kind of a one-off, right? Those sort of things don't happen every time you go out and you shoot. Sometimes shooting can be really boring and dry, but other times it can be really exciting. And I think it's because of those times, those potential opportunities that kind of linger in the ether, that remind you of the importance to consistently go out and consistently put the reps in, because you never know when opportunity like that is going to strike. You never know when you're going to run into people that you would have never met in any other scenario. So just a couple best practices I wanted to leave you with. The first one I kind of already touched on was, if you find yourself uninspired, but you still want to put the daily reps in, and you plan on, and you're going to go out and shoot, give yourself just a timer. Like, be committed and be accountable to a timer. Especially if you don't have anyone else to shoot with, then just set a timer. Give yourself a goal of 60 minutes or 90 minutes. That way you don't have to feel obligated to, again, keep wandering around. It's like, well, I'm not finding any angles, I'm not finding any composition, nothing's working, I'm frustrated, that sort of thing. Just set a timer. Commit to whenever the timer's done. The second one is just welcome every opportunity. And what I mean by that is, when you show up anywhere with a camera, you're inevitably going to draw attention when you are walking out and about with a camera. So within reason, staying safe, all that, just welcome every opportunity to be like, yeah, I'll take a picture. Or like, yeah, let's go over here and just do an impromptu shoot or something. It could literally kind of turn into anything, and that's kind of what I mean. So set a timer for yourself when you're out. Welcome every opportunity that kind of safely presents itself. I think that's all I have for this video. It was one of those things where, like, on my drive home, I knew I had to get all of this out before I forgot it or slept on it and, you know, had half-baked ideas of what was already hitting me. So hope you found it enjoyable. Hope you found it useful. If you aren't subscribed, please feel free and subscribe. I'm trying to grow this community and grow this channel, you know, about photo, video, and kind of living a life of intentionality, living your best life. I don't know, it's kind of cliche, but thanks for sticking around and watching my most recent video. It's been really cool to see the growth on that video and seeing how it's done. All right, that's all I have. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.